Well, very happy to be here today and have Pernilla and James joining me on stage. So I'll just do a quick intro before we kind of jump into it. Pernilla Winberg Babtist is the SVP of Global Marketing at Mastercard, specifically focused on the Priceless program. And then James Cullen, VP of Global Brand Marketing at Paramount, working on Paramount Plus in particular. So they're both doing a lot in their roles, and there's a lot that we can chat about today, so excited to kind of jump into it. One thing that we had talked about was innovation in general and just some kind of innovative ways that both of the companies are adapting marketing strategies. So I think we've seen a lot of innovation in the last couple of years, and just to take a step back, people can, define or think of innovation in different ways themselves. So it would be good to kind of get your perspective of how each of you think about and approach innovation, and then an example of how your company is kind of doing something in an innovative way right now.
Yeah, I could start, and excited to be here. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Innovation, I think, is really an adaptation to market trends. I know we're going to talk about market trends in a little bit, and for Paramount Plus, it's a unique kind of proposition, because how we build our product is twofold. Number one, you have the platform itself. The subscription service is built on a tech platform, and of course, that sometimes can be table stakes to consumers in the marketplace. But for us, our innovation largely comes in the stories we tell. We're in the storytelling business, and our product is a show or a film. And so when we look at different market trends, our definition of innovation is really matching the stories that are being told out there, and how do we replicate that to be meaningful to a general population or a niche audience. So for our context, innovation really is focused on that. And the iteration of our service, Paramount Plus, was born out of a formerly branded service called CBS All Access. And when we merged our companies, one of the things that we needed to look at was how do we innovate our packaging to be more compelling to a broader consumer base. And so we went through an exercise of doing that, and we rebranded ourselves to Paramount Plus, which, Paramount, the brand, has been around for 100 years or so. But this new iteration was meaningful, and so we needed to kind of find a way that was generally palatable. And so we rebranded Paramount Plus with a tag of a mountain of entertainment. I wanted to, part of that campaign is I wanted to share just a quick video of how we brought that to life. And so we're going to show here this video about our mountain of entertainment.
Beautiful, ain't it? Paramount Mountain. The place where entertainment lives. And the hedgehogs, and bumblebees, hounds, and cats, turtles, and rats, lovebirds, and birdies, sponges, sea stars, and reality stars. Winner gets dinner! Broncos, Rams, Ravens, and Colts. That's one ugly bird. New species, giant hippos, and flying jackasses. Let her rip, Tater Chip! Yep, this mountain's full of surprises. In fact, I'm not even Tim McGraw.
Soy Dora! Later, muchachos!
And so that was part of our launch campaign, A Mountain of Entertainment, fictional space where all of these Paramount characters live here now on a fictional mountain. So that was an example of how we did that.
Awesome. Pernilla, do you want to give your perspective of how you personally think about innovation and then how you're approaching it at Mastercard?
Yeah, absolutely. So I also want to say I'm really happy that we can be here today, and thank you all for being here. I think being in the marketing field now has never been more complex, and because of that, never been more interesting. So I'm really happy to be here with you today. So around innovation, I mean, all of us know it's been so many shifts going on for a long time, cultural shifts, shifts in technology, shifts in the market. And if you want to continue to lead, you need to constantly innovate. There is no way other way that you can lead. So together with my team, we are really thinking about two things around that. First, about being curious, right? Try to always find the new first. Meet the consumers in new arenas, new places where they are. Get new partnerships on board, which can help you to innovate through technology, or also partnership that helps you deliver consumer experiences in a new way. But because of everything that is happening and the world is moving so fast, you really need to have a structured approach as well, and have like a relentless focus and a scientific approach around all the data that's out there. But if you're good in combining the curiosity with a structured approach, you can really figuring out innovative ways to, create new solutions for the future consumers. And consumers, as we know, is constantly changing, right? So I want to share with you two very different examples of innovation that we have done in the last couple of years. So I'm not going to go into it completely, but I hope that you all know that we as a company has Priceless, and we've been creating priceless experiences for our consumers many, many years, right? But 3 years ago, we decided to actually acquire a company out in California, a technology and content startup, to really make sure that we could accelerate our innovation agenda also in the technology space. Because as I said, we have all this great content, but we needed also a way of actually serving that content up to our consumers in a new way. So since then, we've actually built our own marketing technology, which is kind of innovative for a company like this. So we have a full-fledged commerce platform with a lot of functionality and a lot of currency, 25 different languages that serves up all these thousands of experiences. But we also have the opportunity through technology to take that content into our customer channels, because we are a B2B2C brand as well, right? That's the whole idea, which is interesting. And now we as a team, we are working marketing people and software engineers side by side, because it's together we're really creating the magic. The other example I wanted to share with you is around the approach on multisensory. As we all know, most ads focus on sight and on sound, but we really made it to our mission, make sure that we cover all 5 senses to make a deeper connection with our consumers. So as you probably know, we are one of the most powerful symbol brands. We actually even dropped the name from our logo 3 years ago, and it wasn't somebody that woke up one morning and said that this is what we're going to do. This comes back to the research that I touched upon before. We did a lot of research to feel comfortable that it was the right way to go. But we also need to understand that with digital commerce going around, we needed to have our logo in a place that we can also show up in smaller screens and still be relevant. And also, that's when we came into Sonic as well. So we launched our Sonic branding in 2019. Also with the insight is like we need to build a brand that is not only visible because of e-commerce coming, it's very different. And it's been an interesting journey. It's like we built a whole Sonic architecture around this. So it's ranging from everything like the checkout, when you actually check out and pay with a Mastercard, there is a specific sound, but also continuing innovating within this. So actually this summer we launched a Priceless album. We created a full album with 10 up-and-coming artists from different countries, all of them incorporating our Sonic melody in the album. Then we're coming to taste. I mean, we had priceless tables for years, but a couple of years ago we did 2 things. We launched together with La Durée macaroons, of course, in our colors, but we also launched full-fledged restaurants. So we have a restaurant in the airport in Rome, we have a restaurant in Sao Paulo, we have a restaurant in Mexico. We had some pop-up restaurants here in New York a couple of years ago, so we're really going into that as well. Scent, as you know, that's one of the senses that evokes memories the most. So, of course, we launched our fragrance. So we have Passion and Optimism. And to round this out with touch, I actually want to show you an ad on how we are enabling the partially and blind society by giving them new product.
This commercial was designed with audio description for people who are blind or partially sighted, so more people can experience it. A red-haired woman holds a white cane and feels her way down apartment steps. She strolls past a man scrubbing his vintage sports car.
Love the music, Greg.
Good morning, Marjorie.
Good morning.
Marjorie tilts her head. What's that sound? A shopping cart?
Hey, Marjorie.
It's her friend on a skateboard.
Hey, Marcus.
Nearby, kids play soccer. Marjorie steps into a tiny cafe.
Hey, Marjorie. I'm Mayuki. Vanilla latte, please. Okay, $4.50.
Someone shuffles impatiently behind her. Marjorie isn't flustered. Her cards used to feel the same, but touch cards from Mastercard have distinct notches for debit, credit, and prepaid. She feels a half hexagon, her credit card. She taps a terminal and takes her latte.
Thank you.
She steps outside and strides away from us. Touch cards appear, each with a distinct notch. Introducing Touch Card by Mastercard, because a world designed for all of us is priceless. The word priceless comes up next to the Mastercard logo.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of really interesting things that you just described, and a lot of stuff too that everybody in this room probably isn't familiar with or thinks of from a MasterCard perspective. So really great for sharing that. And the commercial I know we were talking about before, like that spot and another one that's going to come up are both a little bit emotional. And I think one thing that you touched on as far as research and consumer kind of trends and insights is an area that we can dive into a little bit more too, because as marketing leaders, it's something that we have to be really in tune with. So I think just kind of understanding from you guys, what kind of changing consumer habits and trends are you seeing today? And then how are you and your companies adapting to those?
I think the one that we're all here probably thinking about is the general economic climate and the potential economic headwinds we have coming towards us and are currently exist in the current state of the broader world economy. And I think as we look at the research for our consumer base and what they're concerned about, it's price. Speaking of priceless, it's price. And I think generally, we've positioned ourselves as a premium streamer with a good price point, and consumers are asking more and more to think about how we can bundle our product with both other entertainment options, but also consumer brands. And speaking in the vein of innovation, one of the things that we recently announced as a first-to-market proposition is we partnered with Walmart Plus, which has seen their subscription service grow significantly over the last, I would say, few years that product has been available, and are bundled with Walmart Plus. For every Walmart Plus subscriber, they get a free subscription to Paramount Plus. It broadens our distribution for our shows. It reaches a new audience for us. That is generally coastal, and with that partnership and another partnership with T-Mobile, we're able to kind of expand our base, have a unique distribution and marketing vehicle with brands that are established and well known, elevate the awareness of our brand, but also communicate to the consumer a kind of somewhat valuable coexisting brands that can provide distinct value to the consumer. Walmart Plus, for example, can give you the goodies, and you can make your own movie night if you watch your favorite film on Paramount Plus. I think the other thing that we recently did with Showtime is we integrated Showtime, a premium entertainment brand, has been around for several decades, and it has been known to be an elevated storytelling brand. Paramount is generally, and Paramount Plus, a general population, as premium shows, kids and family content, big films. But when we paired ourselves and offered a bundle proposition to our consumer base, there was significant adoption of that. And so I think, for us, we're looking at different unique ways to innovate to provide in the streaming space and entertainment in general more and more access at a more compelling price point, just to make sure that, the consumers are aware of that, and our messaging and our positioning reflects that. Previously, as you launch a service, you're less concerned about the price, but more about educating the audiences about the content that exists on the service. Now we feel like we've done a good job of that, and we're pivoting to make sure that folks know that this is a valuable proposition too.
And as we're saying, there is a lot of trends going on. One of the things that we talk a lot about is the trust and the consumer expectations. I mean, we see consumer expectations on absolutely the highest level. And consumers expect so much more from brands than they ever done before. They need them to be purposeful, they need them to be authentic, and they need them to align with their values. And if a company is untrustful in doing that, consumers will leave. So it's really important that we're understanding that. And I think as we are representative of global brands, it's kind of fascinating and scary to see what consumers expect us to do. They actually, I think it's over 80% of global consumers say that they expect global companies to make the world a better place, And I think 65% of consumers saying that they expect global brands to actually give meaning to their lives. So we have an important thing to do here, right? It's really like businesses is taking over from what consumers at one point in time were expecting from governments. So to hold ourselves to higher standards, both morally and actually in practice. So it's an interesting shift there. And we as a company have been working for many, many years around financial inclusion, making sure that is, the top priority. ISG, obviously, with the climate crisis and the pandemic and everything going on is rising to the top. We put a lot of effort into sustainability, both in terms of the product that we're creating. We have a studio and a lab in my hometown of Stockholm, where we are constantly co-creating products around this area. We as employees actually have our compensation linked to our ESG goals as well. So everybody should really walk the talk around this. And we are really having a huge belief is by doing good, you also do well. So that is something that we put in the forefront of everything we're doing. Then another thing that is constantly up and bubbling is the concept of being inclusive. It's like that is both for individuals, for group, both in the real world and in the digital world. It's like leave no one behind, and making sure that we are having empathy at the core of everything we are doing. And this is the other ad that Crystal was referring to that we want to share with you around the subject, specifically around inclusion.
For transgender people, a secure payment doesn't mean protecting yourself from someone buying secrets with your card. No, if you're transgender, a secure payment means paying for something without being judged, questioned, disrespected, humiliated, harassed, even assaulted, simply because the name on your card doesn't match how you identify. This is about more than just keeping your card safe. It's about keeping us safe. True Name by Mastercard. The first card that allows you to display your chosen name because that's who you truly are.
And I think this one is a good example of marketing not only being the force for growth, but actually being a force for good. And if you do things that is good for the world, in the end, it's good for the business. This is quite interesting to see how many of our issuer partners that actually embrace this and actually issue these cards around the globe.
Yeah, and I'll add on top of that, because I think one of the things that we at Paramount Plus and at Paramount Global like to think about and understand is that storytelling has a huge impact on the culture. And we are in, like I said at the top, we're in the storytelling business. Paramount Global and Paramount Pictures over history have had a legacy of demonstrating representation that goes on to impact the broader world. I think, one of the phrases that we like to say at Paramount a lot is, if you can see it, you can be it. And I think for us, one of the things that we kind of call back on, and Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek series, which was a Paramount studio series, and we've done more Star Trek here recently, but her legacy is one that impacted the space program because she played a fictional pilot on a show in the 60s. And I think, for us, we have to carry on that legacy of demonstrating, the world that we live in on the screen. And I think one of the things that we're trying to do at Paramount is look at the research and the data. By 2030, there's going to be in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic, the majority of the population will be multicultural, and by 2050, the majority of the global population will be multicultural. And so I think, for us, we've taken that notice, seen the data, and one of the campaigns that we recently ran is our Black Voices campaign. We have a history of championing Black Americans domestically and beyond. We have a storied network, BET, that has done that storytelling work for a while, and we're trying to carry that on in the streaming space. And so I wanted to show one of our recent campaigns and to talk a little bit about Content for Change, which is a partnership that we did for this spot.
We're not asking for equality of outcome, but equality of opportunity.
Being in the presence of people that came before me that I admired really lifted me and gave me a healthier sense of myself. We are not in this alone.
When you're authentically yourself, you're actually showcasing the possibilities of what a Black person can be, because we're not a monolith.
Can I get an amen up in here?
I'm hoping that just by these shows existing, it will impact future generations by being able to see that these stories are being told.
My main focus is to make sure that the show is authentic, that the show represents Black America.
I've seen the evolution. The opportunities in front of and behind the cameras never have been greater.
We're doing better. Each and every step is doing better. We all get to be inspired and empowered when we see what we can be.
I mean, one of the things that I loved about the Mastercard ad before this, and it kind of pairs well with this authentic ad, is that consumers are looking for brands to be authentic and to be honest about the products that they serve, and giving the consumer the control to identify themselves as they see fit in a product is a special and rare thing. And the Content for Change initiative that we've done across Paramount Global is similar in that we are handing over and supporting up-and-coming multicultural creators and getting their content prioritized in our pipelines in terms of content creation, and then finding distribution windows for them to kind of have their stories be propelled and platformed across a multitude of spaces. So, I think there's some similarity in how we show up, and I think the authenticity piece is kind of critical to that space.
For sure. I think both of you, as far as what you're talking about, is phenomenal, and the strides that have been made towards inclusivity. And I think both of you are fortunate enough to work for companies that are more advanced probably in that timeline than some others. And there's still a lot of work to get done, but hopefully this is a trend that's going to continue and evolve and have more and more kind of marketing support as well. For trends that we're talking about, I think, we're saying about this one sticking around for some time. Are there others that you see currently continuing, or if you're kind of looking into the future for 2023, anything new that is going to be developing that hasn't been focused on yet?
I mean, we can't be sitting here without talking about the virtual economy, right? I mean, it's exploding. Metaverse, Web3, NFTs, the way the consumer want to engage with things, the way that you combine things in new way, that's obviously something we are keeping very close to, and we are entering into this world, or these worlds, I would say, in a lot of different initiatives that we are doing. So one of the things that is, I think it's interesting with the kind of the new technologies and new opportunities that comes up is that they're giving us opportunities to grow. So to give you an example, we entered into a partnership, so Mastercard, Time Magazine, Salesforce, and the City of Miami. So it's kind of 4 very different companies. So what are we trying to do together? So we're basically working with the NFT creator community in Miami, and those creators could be NFT creators, it could be chefs, it could be different designers, to create NFTs. Priceless Experiences, something old that's been there a long time, is going to be the utility in this program. And all the proceeds from the sales is going back to either the artists, nonprofits in Miami, or the City of Miami itself. So it's actually hitting on a lot of the topics that we spoke to before, and it's giving us the opportunity to co-create in a new creator economy that is coming up. And the thing by doing new combinations of things like this is that once you have the formula, there is an opportunity for scale. You cannot really grow without scale, but if we figure it out in Miami, there is a lot of other cities in the US and globally.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of stick on the NFT front, one of the things that we start to talk about in terms of how do we best market the huge franchises that we have within our portfolio, how do we create more and more extensions, opportunities to connect and reconnect and rethink and talk about and evangelize different opportunities. We leverage our big franchises as the eyeball getters to expose and sample other stories within our platform and beyond. And I think for us, NFTs was a unique opportunity for us to extend the Star Trek franchise into a space where folks who are very intensely focused on NFTs and the digital economy have an ability to acquire distinct and unique, I would call it digital art that is based in the IP canon that is Star Trek. So we released, you can imagine of all the vessels and the ships and the characters that are well known within that world, you can create a ton of different art pieces that I think, for us, the NFT space, Star Trek and SpongeBob, as you can imagine, are the biggest kind of hits. One of the things that we talked about, though, is like, how do we connect the digital experience of NFT buying and sharing and reselling to a real life experience, so that you can not only use it as something that you have, but something that can be a token or open up an opportunity to kind of to experience more. And so this year at San Diego Comic-Con, for those who are Trekkies, I'm sorry, I'm going to go a little deep into the Trek space here for a second, but there is a fictional bar within most of the Star Trek vessels called 10 Forward, and it's where a lot of the crew go and meet after a long days of, I guess, trekking, and so we recreated that experience from the Star Trek Picard series, made this kind of life-size bar there in the Gaslamp district, and gave NFT holders of Star Trek unique access to that bar, so the value of the NFT could increase to not only the person who owns it, but to those who are thinking about getting into it. So it's like, how do you create extensions within that space? That's how we think about that trend in general. We've done some of that stuff in the Roblox environment, some of the other kind of, I would say, platforms across the company, but that's the one that sticks out to me as a good example.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one thing too is that we had talked about is obviously both of the brands are mega brands and very well known, and just kind of being able to continue and evolve with Paramount Plus being newer, being able to rely on some of that legacy heritage there and transfer that over, and marrying it with NFTs or a newer trend. And then for Mastercard, I mean, for Priceless in particular, it's been around for 25 years alone, that program. So the NFT example, I think, is very interesting as well. Are there any others as far as just how you're kind of continuing to maintain, price lists, but also evolve it at the same time?
No, I think, as you said, it's like price has been around for 25 years, and it's the soul of our company, and it's becoming a true differentiator and a brand preference play for us. And it's interesting that, looking at the last 25 years, a lot of things have changed, not only for our company, but the whole digital evolution, what is happening around culture. But Priceless, we've been sticking true to Priceless through this and continue to evolve it. It started with a traditional ad with a dad going to a baseball game together with his son. And then it became like a phenomenon, and now we have like an always-on, best-in-class experience platform. And if we look back, and I think if I look at the things that I think has been important in order to get Priceless to where it is today, the whole journey, and also going forward, I think that number one is we've been able to stick with the insight, and lucky us that the insight haven't changed that much, so we've been lucky in that sense, but also continue to always evolve the proposition and stay ahead of times, and making sure that every time you evolve it and take it to the next level, that these are building blocks that work together. And then, as the last thing that I think has been important in the journey is that we are not treating Priceless as a marketing platform. It's a platform for everything we as a company want to do, and it fuels our business. So I think we're gonna stick around with Priceless for another couple of years.
Yeah, a long time. James, anything else to add from your side as far as with Paramount Plus being newer, just how you're approaching things?
Yeah, I can end with this, but our tag is a mountain of entertainment. You saw it in that initial spot. It was something that was born out of our work to rebrand. We had the initial tag we actually had was live sports, breaking news, and a mountain of entertainment. And when we looked at the market research coming out of our initial rebranding phase, there was just this connection with the consumer, clear connection that a mountain of entertainment just clearly communicated that it's a funny pun about the Paramount Mountain tied with this connotation of quantity. And when you look at what consumers care about in an entertainment platform, they want to know what the price is, they want to know and how much content is there, and if it's the content that I like. And so the trifecta kind of tag turned into just a mountain of entertainment. It's our trademark positioning now. We play on it with sub-brand headlines, like we have a sub-genre campaign called A Mountain of Movies during the summer. We are in the middle of doing an October campaign, and we're playing off the idea of peak, so it's peak screaming. So we're using kind of like that, that clever kind of conceit. We're a playful brand, and extending its kind of impact across the board. But we're not, our tag is not 25, 30 years old. It's a year and a half. And so we have a lot of work to do there, but it's something that we're going to lean into, I think, in the coming years.
Awesome. I think that's it. We can end there unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to share with the audience, and we might have a few minutes for questions.
Of course, drop my phone. Jason Edelman from Brand Innovators. Thank you for doing this. So I'm sitting here and I'm seeing these amazing ideas. But you guys are very similar brands, actually. Share of wallet challenges, share of screen challenges. Both don't really have brand awareness issues. You have brand preference issues. I'm kind of curious if their partnership world, like the Walmart Pluses of the world, obviously maybe you guys can do a partnership together. I'd be happy to broker that for you. But like, how do you approach the brand preference world when you're both kind of fighting for, you're both in these like crazy wars in your own categories?
For us, it's interesting because going back to kind of the start and how marketing impacts product and product experiences and product, in our instance, stories, we have to look at where do we win in terms of genres. So Is it films? Well, maybe HBO has that kind of lead there. Is it kids and family? We're pretty good there. We have a legacy streaming, legacy brand of Nickelodeon. That's where Nickelodeon content is that you can stream is on Paramount Plus. So we have to kind of first identify the product wins that we have against the marketplace, and then be loud about it. And so that's why the kind of wins that you can do are tell the broader story of how big your service is, identify the characters from franchises that you think would win, and then work with your acquisitions team, your content acquisitions team to say, hey, maybe we should have all of the Star Trek content only on Paramount Plus. Let's tout that to the marketplace. It's a huge franchise and a huge audience space. How do we extend that further? So I think for us, it's like looking at the areas that we win product-wise, and then demonstrating that to the consumer, and then having that hopefully be their preference.
I think I agree with you. We are similar in a lot of different spaces, but the big difference is that you're a B2C brand and we are a B2B2C brand. So we basically are in our hands also together with our customers and making sure that we build brand preference through our partnership with our customers. And they can be co-brands, they could be issuers, it could be other things. And again, we have the products, but we also have the services side. And coming back again to trust that is rising to the top, specifically with the new creator economy, just to give another spin to it, is like, everything related to security, to privacy is rising to the top, and we have services in that area as well. So we had to address it on a lot of different ways. And when we're talking priceless and making sure that we continue to build a brand, we are doing that a lot through technology by taking our experience into our customers' channels where the consumers are. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I think and I'm sure that you do it as well. It's like the consumer sentiment is, if the consumer's expectations are high, the consumer sentiment is low now for a lot of different reasons. But so we need to constantly check in with the consumer to understand how we best can reach them with what services and what products to continue to stay relevant and continue to build the brand preference.
Okay, I think that's it. We're at time, but thank you both so much. I think we all learned something that we can definitely take away and put into our marketing approaches moving forward. And if anybody does have other questions, you can connect with us on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. Thank you.